Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch and I'm here with what would be best described as a extremely early review of the Canon RF 800 f11. I started this morning, I just got the lens yesterday, did an unboxing and a quick shoot with it. And I started this morning, I got up not real early, but sort of early and went to a place called Booker T. Washington State Park, where they don't let me make videos, which is really weird. But I did some photography there and I was really struggling. This lens, it has a box. It doesn't give you the entire screen to move focus points around on like other RF lenses do. It gives you a box that's more towards the middle. It doesn't go all the way to the top. It doesn't go anywhere near all the way to the sides, and it doesn't go all the way to the bottom. And I was making some photographs of some birds, nothing exotic, robins and things like that. And I had trouble getting the bird in focus unless I had the focus point directly in the center of that box. So in other words, the small box that they restrict you to, I was having to restrict myself even further. And I don't know, now that I've shot a lot more today with the lens, I don't know if that is actually what was happening. This is the focus ring on this lens, and if you're in autofocus and you bump into that just a little bit, and look, it's right where, let me extend the lens out like it's supposed to be. If you hold it in the most comfortable spot, you're right on this manual focus override ring, and it has a really high quality, smooth, buttery feel to it, but it's very easy to move. So you could be dead on focus and then get ready to pull the trigger and move your hand just the tiniest bit on the barrel of the lens, and next thing you know, you're out of focus. So I'm having to kind of train myself to either hold the lens out here at the end, way away from this manual focus override ring, or maybe right back here at the beginning of it. And since I started doing that, I've been having a lot better luck, even when my focus point is out near the edge of that box. So I'll show you some photographs that I made with this lens today, and I'm still working, but we're going to start at Booker T. Washington State Park, where I made photographs of some relatively small birds around the area there. All right, here's a few bird photographs from Booker T. Washington State Park, and even though I was accidentally sabotaging the autofocus of the lens, I was still able to get a few nice in-focus shots, like this female cardinal. Here is a mourning dove walking across the parking lot, and I've got several photos of this, and most of them I had knocked the camera slightly out of focus, but occasionally it overrode my accidental overriding. This is an eastern kingbird in a tree. Beautiful, beautiful bird. I love these. They are a flycatcher, and I always enjoy getting photos of them. The next place I went with the lens was the Chickamauga Dam, where I took some photographs of some small birds for a while, and that was going pretty good. So let's look at some of those photos. Here's a photograph with the 800 f11 of the state bird of Georgia. This is the brown thrasher. I love this bird. It's a little bit larger than a mockingbird, but it has beautiful yellow eyes. Here where the tree swallows are, you can get really close to the birds. And the 800mm lens has a minimum focus distance of around 19 feet, a little over 19 feet. And because of that, this lens is not the best for shooting these tree swallows. With the 100-500, I can get way closer, or even with my Nikon 200-500, I can get way closer. So when you can get really, really close to your subject, this 800 f11 is not the best choice. But I'm going to try to get some birds in flight with it here in a little while and see how that does. This beautiful bird is a barn swallow, and I missed focus on this one just a little bit, still with my hand on the manual focus override ring, but I went ahead and shared it with you because it was the only close to in focus picture I got. Now this photograph is a tree swallow, which is more common there at the Chickamauga Dam, and this one I nailed focus absolutely perfectly. I had removed my hand from the focus ring. And then I switched over and started trying to photograph the larger birds that are there, vultures and great blue heron and osprey in flight. And I was really pleased with how the lens did during that. That's when I discovered where I needed to put my hand when I was autofocusing. So I'll show you the results of some of those birds in flight photos. Good morning. All right, well, this is not the greatest osprey in flight with a fish photo I've ever made, but it is an osprey in flight with a fish photo, and it's the first one I ever made with my new 800 f11, so I thought I would share that one with you. Now here is a drop-dead, perfectly in focus photograph of a black vulture there at the Chickamauga Dam. This is when I had first kind of figured out that I was screwing up my focusing, and look, here's a great blue heron flying towards the shore, and it's carrying a fish that it's just caught. And when it landed with the fish, I switched over to video, and here's a short 4K video clip that I made with the EOS R and the 800 f11. Look at that great blue heron swallowing that fish. Now here is another great blue heron. This is the one that Heather calls Kevin. It has something wrong with under its chin. You can see something sticking out there. Heather calls this one Kevin. We see it up there quite a bit. And here is another great blue heron. This one's not Kevin. I still say that the Chickamauga Dam is the greatest place in the world for great blue heron photography. There's many places in Florida that are better for other types of bird photography, but I'll put the Chickamauga Dam up against any place in the world for great blue heron and great blue heron in-flight photography. It's like an air show every time you go to the Chickamauga Dam. Let's look at the construction of the lens. It's not weather sealed. It's really small and light. I mentioned this in the unboxing, but there's 3 switches. One that allows full focus range, and another which is 19.5 or so feet to infinity, and another that is 20 meters, which is 65 or so feet to infinity. There's also an autofocus, manual focus switch, and stabilization on and off. And this lens, in this form, the way you store it is not operational. You have to take this collar right here, twist it to unlock, slide it out, and then lock it back, and then the lens becomes functional. And even when it's extended, it is relatively small compared to other telephoto lenses, especially of this length. But it's really nice that they included the ability to shrink it, because it takes up less space in my bag than my Nikon 200 to 500 does. It takes up more space in a bag than the new Canon 100 to 500. But, you know, this thing is really pretty cool. All right, we're back at the Chickamauga Dam, and here is a great blue heron coming in for a landing, and it's flying past 5 black vultures there on the rocks. Here's another great blue heron in flight photo, and you know, it's interesting. I've taken this lens out shooting 2 days in a row, and both of those days were bright and sunny. So I still haven't had a chance to experience this f11 minimum aperture and maximum aperture lens when light is not bright and plentiful. Here's an osprey in flight. So it'll be interesting in future videos. I'm sure I will get a chance to shoot with this lens on an overcast day as we look at another great blue heron in flight. Another osprey in flight. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the R6 handles autofocusing this f11 lens on a cloudy day. But on a sunny day, if you don't screw up where you put your hand, it works perfectly. I went over to the Tennessee River Park Curtain Pole Road area, and I walked all the way down past the pond and a little bit further to where there's a kind of a ditch that flows into the pond. And there I found, I think it was a groundhog, and I duplicated my problem. I was excited to see that groundhog and trying to get it in the frame and focus just right, and I kept struggling to get the focus, and sure enough, I looked down and my hand was holding the lens by the autofocus ring. Very easy to do, and I struggled to get focus, and as soon as I switched to holding the lens another way, I was able to lock focus and get a really nice shot with the groundhog's eye right in the corner of that box, the box of area that this lens will allow an R series camera to focus. So the big moral of the story is don't hold the lens by the autofocus ring or the manual focus override ring, because if you do, you will mess up your pictures. Before I show you the groundhog photograph, I'll show you this robin photo. I was standing there looking for something to photograph, and this robin flew up and landed right in front of me, just barely past minimum focus distance for the 800. And here it is. Here's the groundhog sitting down there in the ditch and just being all dirty and gross and nasty and cute. And I managed to finally get it in focus once I took my hand off the override ring. All right, thanks for watching this early review of the Canon RF 800 f11. You know, my opinion of this lens has gone from early this morning when I didn't realize the mistake I was making to this thing doesn't focus very good, to later in the day, wow, this thing is really awesome and I may use it more for birding than I use my 100 to 500. So, you know, I still don't have a complete verdict on this lens, and you know, a lot of that will have to do with how the pictures that I made today actually look when I import them and see how they do. So as you've looked through the pictures today that I've made, I may have made comments about that. But right now I'm feeling like this thing's pretty doggone awesome, and I'm really glad that I purchased it. So thanks for watching. Look how light it is, it's ridiculous. Have a great day, and as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.